All right, time to get down to the Mr. GLAOT podcast. Today, guys, I'd just like to say thank you, viewers, for coming by and watching us from Jesus, man. What a way to start off this episode. But yeah, so today, guys, today's Wednesday. So my first topic I would like to say, guys, is as recording this episode, I need scissors. To be honest, I'm actually moving out as we're speaking, moving out to a new house. So as we're speaking, it's going to be a little bit interesting because, as for all due to respect, it's going to be interesting because even though I don't know how to pay, the reason I'm moving out of this house is I don't know how to pay bills or something like that, and it's hard to keep track of the money with me and other stuff that might be kept secret. So it's probably for the best. I'm sure some of you people that have been through the same situation I have might understand what I'm talking about. So for all due to respect, this is just, let's just say, one of the last times that we might be here. And for all due to respect, considering it's 10:12, I only have a couple topics to talk about, maybe 3 topics, because the first topic I already just said is done for. But in all fairness, it is going to be interesting, seeing that I might not watch on this Roku TV anymore, and I just hope I understand what the internet is in my new place. I will be vlogging out. And guys, the reason I haven't been doing a lot of videos last month ago, or even barely doing, well, some videos, I haven't uploaded nothing last Monday ago, is because, well, I'm already getting set to, ready to do moving in and doing other stuff, and
Daniel Dubois does beat Alexander Usyk. Frank Warren is not really comfortable with making the fight between you and Dubois. Is that a fight that you push for, though?
If I did come back, hypothetically speaking, if I was to return and I was to box Daniel Dubois, I would box him this off.
Tyson Fury never hesitates to speak his mind, and his recent thoughts on the upcoming Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois rematch have sent shockwaves through the boxing world.
He won't land the glove on me. It'd be a one-sided beatdown. But listen, I wish you luck in his fight against Usyk.
well, that's not really the second topic we're here to talk about, guys. I'll just mute that TV just for the heck of it. I'll just watch something while talking over this. But yeah, not really the second topic I'm here to talk about, guys. But of course, there's these reports that Tyson Fury is actually going to fight next year in 2025, which, I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous to look at. But looking back at it, I don't know what to say about anyone, depending on who you ask. With a lot of YouTubers out there and a lot of other crazy stuff, there's just so much crazy things going on right now. Like, there's so many hilarious reports of Tyson Fury showing off his new blonde wig for some hilarious reason, which makes no sense. And by the way, guys, speaking about 2026, guys, we hear that Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev is going to have a trilogy match. They're going to postpone their... I was expecting they were going to fight in the fall. Barely go, because they barely fought in October, took themselves 4 months off to fight in February. They both got 1 win off each other, which is crazy how Artur Beterbiev won, because I didn't expect him to win the first match. The second match, pretty fair enough for I didn't want Beterbiev to lose because he was Canadian, part Russian born, but living in Canada, representing Canada. So yeah, it was upsetting to see Bivol win that second fight. And now we're waiting for this other fight to happen, and it's going to come in 2026 while David Benavidez is taking on Anthony Yarden. Like, at this moment, we're like, I thought we were supposed to see who wins. Because, guys, if Artur Beterbiev won the fight, would he have fought against Benavidez? At this moment, it just goes to show you how hard boxing is when it comes to that understanding of knowing so much ridiculousness. And I really don't know how to explain it. It's crazy. So guys, yesterday on July the 8th on Dangan Promotions in the Korakuen Hall in Tokyo, Japan. I love that venue so much. We had multiple heavyweight fights where we have Naoyuki Matsuda defeating a 1-0 Chibiti Tsutsui in the heavyweight. Naoyuki is ranked 617, picks up his second win, and it's going to be interesting to see who has the victory here, because we even have Ji Huang, that was a 2-0 fighter from China. Well, he picks up his first loss by a dominated 4-round loss against a guy who in his first professional fight with a draw named Ken Onuma, but I really don't expect nothing interesting from this guy, so who knows? Like, I just hope they don't go to 4-round fights anymore. Musa Nakano, a 1-0 young 19-year-old heavyweight dude, 6 foot 1.5 inches tall, 219 pounds during this fight yesterday, defeats Eichmann DK, a 1-2 fighter, and picks up a close 4-round majority decision, which goes to show you what 4 rounds does in boxing, that it might just end in a draw. So with all of the record and everything else going on right now, and with all due to respect, with the greatest Japanese boxers right now, Naoyuki Matsuda, in my opinion, might be the next fighter to defeat Matsuro Brendan Tajima. I do want to see him fight that guy. Like, he's ranked 190, and it's probably for the best to give him that record. Or even Shuho Takayama, a ranked 298 fighter from Japan, is 4 wins and 2 losses. And his 2 losses did come horrific, because he did lose against an undefeated boxer named Muhanhai Nurutai, a Chinese fighter that's 2-0. And he was supposed to fight yesterday, but I guess he pulled out, or his opponent pulled out. So originally we had 4 boxing matches in the heavyweight in Japan, but there's only 3. So yeah. So I am trying to keep a lookout on 2 Japanese heavyweight fighters right now, Naoyuki Matsuda and Musa Nakano. It's going to be interesting to know who's going to pick up the victory, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, and because if you scratch my back, I'm going to scratch your back, depending on how good it's going to be. Also, guys, it is ridiculous when we have other boxers in the division of everyone that will try to throw out a victory flag here, because I want to give these Japanese boxers a chance, because due to the weight differential, like, Naoyuki is under 220 pounds, just like Musa Nakano. They're both 6 feet tall, just about 6 feet tall. They're both 6'1" from each other, and reach advantage. So I do want to give them best of luck to try to get something done, because you got to do what you got to do. And I think when looking at this picture here, I do want to see other things other than just seeing them fight each other from other countries. I do want to see them get a resume, just like Brendan Tajima did back in 2023, because it's not common to box your first 2 opponents in your first 2 years. So I do think that's actually probably a good idea to do that, and probably trying to get some stuff done. And I think that's something we have to do because of it. I do want to point out, guys, David Benavidez, even though his fight will be in November, I do question if he's actually going to stay in the division, because I actually didn't realize that he was on the card of the Jesse the Bam Rodriguez and the Daniel Martinez unified card on November. So that's a little bit crazy. We have a couple other undefeated fighters, like the Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney WBO World Welterweight title fight, so that's going to be interesting. We have Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes from the UK. So and that's going to be for the WBO World Lightweight title match. So yeah. technically, I do find this interesting to see the card with 3 undefeated fighters, to see if their O's are going to go, because at this moment, it is crazy that the booker of it seems like the Bob Arum and Frank Warren and other promoters are booking their fighters to go against undefeated fighters. Guys, I actually do find this hilarious that they're booking their fighters to take on undefeated fighters on November the 22nd. That's going to be interesting. I do want to point out one more other thing before I get to the real reason why I'm talking about this podcast. And to be honest, guys, my last topic might take about 20 minutes to get through this. And even though I do have to pack up and get stuff ready, so this might be a short podcast. Maybe I'm trying to make this 40-minute long podcast as best I could. So depending who's ever going to open that door first, I might as well have to end the podcast here if I can make it through 30 minutes. So depending if they're going to come early or not. But the reason I'm recording this is I'm just thinking that this should be just my last video, for all due to respect. But in all hindsight, I really can't even say much about whether or not I even have what it takes. Because, guys, this is already episode 75, and I've already came out with something interesting. So, guys, this is episode 75. In the next 25 episodes, after I upload episode 100 of my Mr. GLAOT podcast, I am already making a new YouTube account for another YouTube channel, which is Mr. GLAOT. And whether, if anything, will go wrong, whether it's going to be interesting or not, I do believe that I will make off different YouTube contents as best I can. But that's not the point, guys. Because, guys, I've already made my announcement. As on the month of May the 16th, 2027, I am going to quit this YouTube channel. Now, guys, I already joined the YouTube community back in May the 16th, 2017, and this is going to be it. My 10-year anniversary. And even though I'm only a couple years on, I'm not going to do a lot of videos on this YouTube channel anymore as much as I should. Depending on, I will do Hunger Game videos. I am going to upload some Mr. GLAOT podcast videos. But my Mr. GLAOT podcast will be on a different YouTube channel, and I am setting that up for the month of September. So get ready for me to upload probably 5 or 7 more Mr. GLAOT videos this month, even though we're only... well, I am uploading this on Thursday right now, so that's like 21 days. Yeah, 21 days. So who knows? So yeah, I am gonna. There's gonna be a lot of changes here, guys. Considering my aggression era for this YouTube channel started back in May of 2022, when my brother had a psychotic break, and I made the new era of trying to become the next. Just trying to do everything else as best I could because everything else I try to do, guys. Because, guys, my YouTube content with everything else that happened in 2023 and then 2024 during the summer and everything else that happened in my career, I was inspired by Boogie2988 and his fake content. And even I was inspired by YouTuber Mick Jugger Nuggets and his famous video, Psycho Kid Kills Father. And I was like, well, that's fake content. How can they get away with that YouTube content in the first place? How could they do that? So I was inspired by enough people. I was even inspired by Robert Irsay, the guy that used to be with the Baltimore Colts when they moved to Indianapolis, and how his demeanor changed. I was inspired by Vincent McMahon. So I try to make my content more serious instead of making it fake content and ridiculous stuff that's just fake, like Boogie2988 and Mick Jugger Nuggets and him killing his father, because that was all work. That was a fake video. And I thought I was making my content real just so people can love my videos. And that's why my content back in the summer and the fall of 2024 and everything that I argue with my father, because over 3/4 of the stuff that happened back in the day, I was arguing with my father. That was all a fake. It was just an argument because I tried to make it more real and more dark, just like what happened to my brother. At this moment, guys, since July the 4th, I decided to end this era right now. July the 9th, and I'm ending the era right now because this is the end of an era right here since the month of May of 2022 to the month of July the 9th here, because I just think it was a bad era, and I thought my content would get more bigger and more darker and even more exciting. But no matter what I did, no one could still watch my content. No one even cared, and I made my content too dangerous because I was really inspired by some people, and I was inspired by the level of that content and inspired by movies like Tombstone from Johnny Ringo and his attitude of the movie of Tombstone. I was inspired by so much characteristics from the character of Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th to make my content more of a dangerous, vile thing. I didn't know my content was going to be that dark and everything else, even though a lot of the stuff I was doing was a work, but I wanted to make it more real and more violent and more than just an act. And I guess I took it too far. I just wish if VTubers and other people cared about my content, or people were following me, or there was a famous person that experienced me, I would have never made this content in the first place. And it just goes to show you how people are pushing my marbles, and it still upsets me to this day. Pretty much. So yeah, that's why I'm actually thinking that it's probably best to get out of this house, and I am going to end this YouTube channel. And like I said before, guys, I made my content recording videos in public because I was also inspired. The reason I record content in public and even did vile stuff there is because I made it more realistic, because Tourette's Guy, the YouTube channel, did stuff in public as well. So if I'm saying, well, if he can get to do entertaining stuff and make things funny and almost out of the bloom of being a ridiculous, embarrassing person in public, maybe I can do it more dangerous. So that's what I was trying to do for content-wise. And I even tried to argue with my father on purpose and not be upset. I wasn't upset with my father. I was pretending to be upset just to make the content more legit than being just a fake YouTube channel. So that was the reason I did all that stuff, and why my brother having a psychotic break, that was real. That wasn't a lie. And yes, my father had arthritis, but at the end of the day, I just tried to make a big impact on my YouTube channel, because no matter, I had so many ideas on YouTube, it's like no one was even caring to help. So I still, it still gets to me to this day that still no one cared about watching my YouTube channel, and people really thought I was a dangerous person, and that just still upsets me. So it just goes to show you where people really don't care about your YouTube channel, and no matter how far you take it, it just gets you to a horrible level that no one doesn't care, and that still upsets me to this day. Yeah. So anyway, guys, so my last topic, ladies and gentlemen, today is July the 11th. Okay, July the 11th, live in Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden. We are live with Nakisa Bidarian Promotions, Most Valuable Promotions, and the Jake Paul Most Valuable Promotions, which are known as MVP. Keep that in mind. Both Nakisa Bidarian and Jake Paul are the MVP promoters. So keep that in mind. Mike Leonardi is the matchmaker. This is going to be live on Netflix. And guys, my theories of these matches are going to be interesting to look at. So guys, the first match on this topic is Tam Thibault and Mary Casamassa. These girls are young. They're both around 5'10" and 5'9". Tam Thibault is still a 2-0 fighter since her debut back in December last year ago against Natasha Spence, and then defeated Sonya Dreeling by a KO. Mary Casamassa has been going through wins after her debut in May of 2022, which is weird because that was like a couple of days after my brother lost his mind. Sheesh. Man, that's crazy. And then 2 months later, she scored her first and only knockout. She defeats Christiane Fahey, a woman that's put out a lot of pride in herself, even though she hasn't been doing good winning fights. But she's come down the mark, almost winning fights in her time by split decision loss against Mary Casamassa a full year after her second fight. So ridiculous. 2 months later, Mary gets a rematch against her debut fighter Cotton in September, wins. She gets Olivia Garula, a nobody fighter, last year ago. Then later in November, she takes on an interesting fighter from Brazil and picks up a win. And I think what we want to see, she's 6-0, 2-0 Tam from Canada, and she's orthodox. Mary Casamassa,
stadium fights. You know, from the Dillian White fight at the O2,
she's a southpaw fighter,
at the O2, to Dominic Brazil at the O2, to Eric Molina at Manchester Arena.
I just think it's going to be interesting to see.
Stadium, because Takam at the Millennium Stadium.
Because I have a feeling, just like what happened to Melinda Watpool and her loss against Shadisi Green for the WBO super middleweight title, which should have been the Canadians' win, not the American. I have a feeling that Mary Casamassa, she's had a lot more experiences fighting more. She is 25 years old. Yes, Tam is 28 years old, so the older, the wiser. She's an inch taller, but I don't think the height really matters, so I will give credit to see if she has what it takes to fight there. I do opinion that Mary Casamassa will handle out an 8-round point decision. The thing is, guys, this is going to be an 8-round, 3-minute fight. So this is going to be a 3-minute boxing match instead of a 2-minute match. All the other matches on this card is going to be 2 minutes, and this one's going to be 3 minutes. So that's going to be interesting to see how these girls are going to handle it.
Right? At Tottenham, you lost. Tonight, you lost split decision.
And guys, don't get me wrong, guys. We have seen some female boxing matches that have been 3-minute matches before. Not just 2 minutes. There's a lot out there. They're just hard to find.
I will say, because people take easy touches, fans moan about fighters ducking fights, taking easy touches.
As for the Ramallah Ali and Leila Furtado, both girls have 2 losses over a bunch of wins. But
after the fight, it looked like you were leaving the ring.
I really don't expect
maybe you weren't going to do the interview, and then you
much
turn around
to this fight. I'm not really into this fight.
Like
one fighter has been off a year hiatus, the other fought
and what you were trying to say
barely,
that speech.
probably less than a year, because her last fight was in 2024 in December, and she's already. And even though she is a Brazilian fighter, she's ranked number 30 with 2 knockouts in her resume, and her losses were against Raven Chapman and Karis Artingstall, both undefeated girls at the time in the UK. But of course, as of now, only one of them, known as Karis, is still an undefeated fighter in the featherweight. So, yeah, I can't say much about the Brazilian fighter. Ramallah Ali from the UK, well, same thing. She has 2 losses. One is a knockout loss against someone, and then she had a WBC title fight in June last year against Yamileth Marsado for WBC Super Bantamweight, and we're going to get to that fight in just a moment about her and Ellie Scotney. So I really don't care about that fight as much, so ignore it.
Real strength for it not to break you.
So even though I do believe Mary Casamassa has the victory here to defeat Tam Thibault, all in all, it's going to be an interesting fight. Chantel Cameron, former greatest pound-for-pound boxer, former undisputed champion, taking on Jessica Camara. Guys, I still can't get used to Jessica Camara and her defeating Hyunmi Choi in 2024. It still upsets me to this day to see a Korean woman that couldn't leave her country for no reason. And she lost in her country.
And on the line with my speech, but listen,
it just
let's not forget about the champ.
And just seeing the ridiculousness. And by the way, guys, I looked up the judges, and it said that one of the judges was national from within Thailand, but nationality in the U.S. One was from Korea, which gave it favor to Choi, and the other that was from Japan gave it a wide 98-92 for the Canadian fighter for respect. It still upsets me to this day, and she already scored out another victory, had a draw against Caroline Dubois, Daniel Dubois' sister, and didn't lose. So,
are you happy with the performance? And do you not necessarily the outcome?
So it's going to be
happy with your performance this time.
It's going to be interesting to see
And do you
how
not
that's going to
realise
turn
that
out,
at
because
home,
this might be an
and this is
interesting
all of us that have had
fight
messages
on the
from people
fly.
at home,
But if you
people were
actually
off their seats with
take
respect,
yourself to the
screaming you on
extreme
to
prejudice,
knock
I think it's going to be
Alexander Usyk out
interesting to
from the 8th
understand.
round onwards.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting because
Look, when you lose,
I'm not saying Jessica
you're not
Kamara
on
has
there.
what it takes as
It's just upsetting. I really wanted to win, and I wanted to win for Great Britain because I know how
she
much
might
they
not have
wanted
what
me
it
to
takes.
fight Tyson Fury. So
She
I
is
wasn't
fighting
just
a British
for
fighter.
myself. I was fighting for like the whole.
But all in all, I
nation.
will say
So I
good
was
luck
so
with her,
upset.
because it's going to be
So
an
I'm not so happy
interesting
with the performance because I didn't win.
fight to.
And I appreciate everyone who was watching at home. You know,
It's going to be
fighting,
interesting, but
like,
I will say
I'm
though,
a fighter.
good luck
I'm not a normal
if
person.
she has what it takes. But I
Like,
do believe
even though I
Chantel
try and
Cameron
obviously
is
hold
going to
it
pull out a
together,
10-round
to be a fighter
points decision here.
is like a real different
Pretty
mindset
much.
and lifestyle that you have to embody, especially to try and be a good fighter. So,
And
I
even though
just,
this is for the WBC interim
yeah,
World
just
Super
a
Lightweight
warm-up.
title, so I
But I
really
appreciate
wouldn't really
everyone
talk much about that
that
fight because it's not really of a
support
title shot.
watched at home, and I really wanted to do it for them because I wanted to bring the belt.
So
back
the
home,
last 5
and I
fights,
really
ladies and
wanted
gentlemen, are going to be
challenge for the
world title
undisputed
fights,
two,
and
of Britain's best.
this is what I have to say about it.
But we move. on to the
Tranurka
next.
Johnson
Do you
versus Sharetta
last
Metcalf.
time when you lost
is gonna be
Alexander,
interesting.
One question at a time, because I'm forgetting the second one.
So Tranurka Johnson
No, I mean,
and
like,
Sharetta
you're asking
Metcalf
two
are two
questions at
fighters that
once.
have been from ups and downs in
The
their
respect
career, and
thing.
it's interesting.
So
Sharetta
Alexander
Metcalf
Usyk.
started her boxing
respect.
career
Do you feel
way
you
into
earned
her
it back
early
tonight?
30s. She's 40 years old right now.
No, well, from who? Who am I?
Her
trying to
first
earn
5
respect
professional
from?
fights from
Your
January
public.
2016 to August
It's
of
not my
2017
business
was
what
a
you think of me.
loss, win, loss,
I can't.
win, loss.
I don't.
And then the
Really,
other fights were a win and
Do
a
you know
draw.
what people should respect me for? When I
She
meet
went
them
on to win
and how
on
I greet them,
a 7-fight
shake hands.
streak
Yes,
until
please,
she
no,
lost
thank
an
you.
8-round fight
That's what I
against
say,
someone
don't
else in
respect me just 'cause of
2022.
the
Had a
fight
no
and
contest,
the belts.
even though when she won,
Because
but it might have been a drug test
that isn't
fail,
what makes a
and
man
she's
or a
been
woman.
on
I think
so much
it's your
problems
character
into her career.
like
And at
how
this
you treat
moment, by
people.
2022 and
So,
everything else,
that's how
she
I
managed to
earn
pick
the
out in a
respect.
surprising way against
And I've
Mia
always tried to
Yoshida in
kinda keep my
2023.
feet on the
But then
ground.
Mia won
I
the
make mistakes.
IBF World
Sometimes I do
Bantamweight
things
title,
from
and
the
they
heart
thought,
without thinking,
give her a
but other
rematch.
than that,
She beat her before, and guess what?
I hope people
It was
can
in
respect me
America,
for the man I'm
and
trying to
she
become.
won again. Only
And the final thing,
it was a little bit closer of a fight,
Obviously, you're incredibly disappointed
but
in
it
this
wasn't
moment,
good
but
enough
how
for her
is
to
that hunger
win
still burning inside you?
the fight for Mia. I wish
Fire
Mia
for
did
life.
retain the title,
The hunger
but
never dies.
it is what it is.
Fire for life.
Wouldn't be
So
here
she
today.
picked out that
None
win
of us would be
easily.
in this room.
Tranurka
without
Johnson
Joshua.
is like a woman
I
that's
promise
just
you, I wouldn't be.
has
our
no
business
talent,
Wouldn't be. My life wouldn't be what it was
but
without Anthony
in
Joshua.
hindsight, she does.
No boxers would be earning
It's
the kind
just
of money
due to her
in the
body
UK
proportion.
if it
She
wasn't
has
for
scored
Anthony
out
Joshua.
her first
He has
fights by
taken the
knockouts
sport
in her first 10
in
professional
terms
fights.
of popularity, in terms of attraction from
But
broadcasters,
then after her
sponsors,
loss against
to
a
another level.
controversial
You're right, he's
loss
far too
against
humble
Shannon
to
O'Connell
say
in
it. You've seen
2021,
a
which
lot of
should have been her
fighters and
win.
A lot of people from the industry come out with those
She
kind of
became
comments
IBF
this
Super
week, which is
Bantamweight
nice to
champion,
see.
scored
And he
out
would
great
never
victories
shout
in
that from the
2022,
rooftop, and if I
and
said that to
then
him, he'd laugh.
her loss
But
against
that
Ellie
is the
Scotney was
complete
just
reality.
so
We
bad.
weren't in stadiums. You know,
And it was
every
bad
other
because
fight
she had
before Anthony
knockouts.
Joshua come
They were
along.
known
Weren't
for the
Brits
famous
going
moment
around the
at the
world,
weigh-in when
you know,
she was wearing a
in
thong and a
Madison
beautiful
Square
suit,
Garden
and
and
Ellie
Riyadh
Scotney was like this
and
ugly
Jeddah.
little British
It's been unbelievable.
punk
but
that
the
looked like she was in her
legacy should
50s, like a
last well
grandmother.
beyond, you know, and Gareth said the question.
And
Do you feel like the
Tranurka
public
lost. She
respect
got
you?
cut over the right eye
You know,
after
if
a
the
head
public
clash in
don't
round
respect him
6,
for what he's
and
done, you
she
might as well
barely
just
won
give
like
up.
2 or 3
You can't
rounds in
keep
that fight.
people happy all the time.
It kind of upsets
If you can
me.
be a good individual like he
She
is,
took
if you can
herself a
set
year
good
off,
example,
defeated a good close
then
fight
that's
against
what you
Nina
can do.
Hugs,
And honestly,
and then had a
the
rematch
sport-
in March
the
this
sport
year.
globally
Won the fight by
wouldn't be where it was
TKO.
without
And
AJ. But the sport in Britain would
And that was
not
for the
be where it is
WBA.
today, and the fighters are benefiting because of the growth that AJ has injected into the sport.
World
And the
Bantamweight
question
title.
to you,
So
AJ,
she's a 2-time weight
to
class
answer my
champion,
question before,
while
I'm sure
Dina
everybody's
Thorson
proud
is the
of you. There's
WBO and
lots of people
WBC
at home
champion.
who are proud of you as well. You spoke
She
about
comes
being
out
that boy
in
from
Madison
Watford
Square
who was
Garden
on
to
a
leave her
completely
country of Denmark to
different
fight against
path,
Sharetta
and you've
Metcalf.
inspired so many people. So if you you were
But
to give
sadly-
a word of advice to anyone who's looking to change their life right now, what would it
The
be?
problem is, guys, this is the moment when
Change
it
your
all
life
gets.
right now.
Now, and guys, even though she was already, because she was famous for
Hard
her,
question to answer. Well,
you know, her body
I'd
paint.
say
it just goes to show you that because she just didn't do good in boxing, it just makes me wonder that how beautiful this New Zealand fighter lost against Shannon O'Connell by a controversial loss. Hell, even Abeni Bridges was a former champion, and she was known for her weigh-in for wearing thong and being someone calling her a stripper and a whore, and she won the fight, lost against Mia Oshida for that title last year ago, only for Sharetta Metcalf to beat her back. So, yeah, I just don't know what to say. So, I do believe it's going to be interesting. But because Dina Thorstland had a pregnancy problem, it's going to be bad. She's a great pound-for-pound boxer, but they vacated her titles before she comes back, so the titles are on the line, meaning that this is going to be an undisputed title fight. So, as for all due to respect, it's going to be interesting because Trinurka Johnson's professional losses have been legit fighters she fought against. She should have defeated Shannon O'Connell, and I wish she should have cared a lot more about the ugly whore UK fighter of Ellie Scottney, a woman that never scores a knockout in her life, and but yet again, she does put out a lot of dangerous skills into her, which is why Ellie Scottney won. Which is why her fight against Marcelo Yamilith tomorrow for the unified super bantamweight title is going to be interesting. So I will say it's going to be interesting because Trinurka Johnson at 30 years old has been training in Montreal for the fight. It's going to be interesting to know how she's going to move forward because even though this is her first pro fight in her debut in the U.S., which should have been Dina Thorstland's first fight. So I don't think it's going to affect her because Sharetta Metcalf has lost a lot of fights in her career, in her early career. Should she recover from that? I don't know. But the thing is, she's not much of a knockout person with 2 knockouts in her 14 wins. So I do find this one hard to watch. Trinurka Johnson, considering she is a tough lady, I do find this one to be an interesting fight for her. Her last 6 fights was a loss, win-win, loss, win-win. So, and Sharetta is already trying to pick off 4 win streaks after a loss and a no contest, and then 4 wins. So, who knows? I do see Trinurka Johnson probably winning this fight by a knockout, probably in round 7. But I'm going to go round 9, which is my pick. Because I don't want these fights to be in decision, but I have a feeling all these female boxing matches are going to end in decision. I'm going to take a chance and say round 9. Savannah Marshall versus Shadicia Green for IBF and WBO champion, ladies and gentlemen. This one is going to be interesting for super middleweight title supremacy. It's going to bring in a lot of dangerousness. So after Frenson Cruz is WBA and WBC champion, Shadicia Green, WBO with a ring champion and IBF, Savannah Marshall, whoever takes on the win will be the winner. The thing is, guys, speaking about knockouts, Shadicia Green, 15-1, 11 knockouts, ranked number 2 in the world. A woman that hasn't fought in 2 years right now with 13 wins, 10 knockouts, 1 draw, and she is a murderous knockout person. I do see Savannah Marshall as a 5'11" and a half tall person. She's a dangerous woman, and I can see her body being in the light heavyweight and hurting out competition easily. But in my opinion, Shadicia Green, even though Shadicia Green is not a very tall woman, even though it does say that she was a former basketball player, but we need a lot of tall basketball players for females in basketball. So 5'8" for Shadicia Green, not very good. So it will be interesting. She pulled out a split decision victory against Melinda Watpool last November during the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson card pay-per-view. And with Savannah Marshall, 34 years old against a 35-year-old American. It will be interesting. I do think that these fighters are going to be really dangerous on the bookend. One of them is going to try to score a dangerous knockout on each other, but I think they're going to have to take it easy because Shaducia Green has boxed since the last 8 months ago, so it's going to be different. While Savannah Marshall, out of 24 months out of the ring, I will say though, good luck. I do want to say that this might end in a points decision, but Shaducia Green, her last fights in her career recently have not been much in a knockout formation, because her last knockout was in February 2023. She scored out a victory 6 months ago against Olivia Curley. She lost against Frenchon Cruz in December, which was her first and only loss. Came on against Natasha Spence and Melinda Watpo in July and November last year. So, and the thing was, guys, Shaducia Green was knocked out in round 7 in an 8-round fight against Natasha, which she barely did actually won the fight, even after she only lost a couple rounds in the fight by some judges. So she does have problems. She barely got a good, interesting win against Melinda Watpo by close decision. So, but the thing is, Savannah Marshall hasn't been boxing for a long time, so I think Savannah might pull out this win, probably by a round 5 knockout, but I'm going to go for round 8. Round 8 will be my knockout victory here for Savannah Marshall. It's going to be an interesting fight. Alicia Baumgartner and Jennifer Miranda, definitely a points decision win here. Alicia Baumgartner, she's had over half of her knockout wins, but hasn't scored a knockout since Terry Harper in November 2021. Her 2 big wins in 2022 and her win against Michaela Mayer for that undisputed belt, which was against Aleem Mekhaled in February 2023 for undisputed, which I wish it was Hun-Mi Choi, but just goes to show you how Korean really likes to F their fighters for no reason. It just pisses me off. But then her win against Christina Leonardato in July of 2023 was a controversial one because Christina defeated Alicia Baumgartner back in July of 2018. So they thought this rematch was going to be different, and it was. But after the controversy stated that Alicia was taking steroids and for strength and such is why she won. And after her fight against Define Pursoon in September last year by the controversial of head clash, and that ended in round 4, I do find this one hard to understand. But Jennifer Miranda, undefeated, 12-0, super featherweight, with 1 knockout. She's 38 years old, from Spain. Good luck if she wins this fight, but I think Alicia Baumgartner is going to win this fight by 10 rounds points decision. If Jennifer wins, hey, that'll be a great story moment. And depending on how she wins, if it's a disqualification, who knows? Ellie Scottney versus Yamileth Marsado, like 24 wins, three losses, but 5 of those wins by knockout against the Mexican fighter. She's fought for 10 years, since July 2014 to June of 2024 for her WBC World Super Bantamweight win against Ramallah Ali last year ago, which when she retained the title. She became champion since she was actually super bantamweight since her win against Issa Vargas Perez back in April of 2022. So she's held the belt for over 3 years now. So and it's interesting because she was in the WBC because Yamileth Marsado, this was her after her 6th title defense win back in August of 2023, and she had her 7th and 8th last year ago. Her 9th title defense might be something to talk about. If she does pull out this victory against Ellie Scottney, who knows if the super bantamweight is going to pick off a fighter with Yamileth Marsado or Ellie Scottney taking on Mayeli Flores Rascurero for the WBA title, because that woman won back in May of 2025 against Nazarena Romero. So that's going to be another interesting fight to look at. We're already at the 40-minute mark, guys, so I might as well have to end this podcast quickly. But here's another thing interesting about this, which will be interesting because I do think Ellie Scottney will have the win here. But the real interesting fight, and that might go 10 rounds of decision because they're not knockout artists. But here's one fight interesting. Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor. Former undisputed females, dangerous at their skill. And Amanda Serrano is a 7-weight class champion, which in my opinion, I think Amanda Serrano, even though Amanda Serrano, because guys, Amanda Serrano has became a lightweight champion before. Like, she won her first ever lightweight title back in the WBO lightweight back in August 15th, 2014 against Maria Elena Maderna. So this is like over 10 years and 11 months. I just don't know because I just think it's going to be interesting, guys, because Amanda Serrano has defeated a lot of wins for super featherweight, winning featherweight, bantamweight, super bantamweight, super lightweight, wait, was it super lightweight back in 2018? I think it was. I think I'm talking about the one in 2018 was her first time she won. Wait, was it super lightweight title? Yes, super lightweight title match is what I meant to say. No, I meant her first title win for the super lightweight was the WBO back in September 8, 2018 against Yamile Esther Reynosa. Yeah, so that was the first title. Yeah. She was like super featherweight, lightweight, full featherweight, super bantamweight. Then she was the light welterweight, and then she became the super flyweight back in January 2019. At this moment, guys, I would just say, whatever it takes, why don't you fight in the welterweight? Guys, I think Amanda Serrano can handle competition in the welterweight. Like, I can see her fighting against fighters like Michaela Mayer, and Lauren Price would be an interesting fight for me to watch at barely 140 pounds because, guys, here's the thing. Amanda Serrano can be at 137 pounds in her career. She's fought in these weight classes before. So she can be an 8-time weight class champion if she wants to. But in all fairness, I do find it interesting that whoever wins is going to win. The problem is, guys, it's going to end in another controversial decision because, guys, the first fight in competition was hard enough because Katie Taylor won out her fight against Amanda Serrano back in April 2022. And it's interesting because Katie Taylor had round 1, round 2, round 3 was for Serrano, and round 4, round 5, and round 6. Round 7 might have been Serrano as well, definitely. And then round 8, 9, and 10. So I had the fight 5 rounds to 5, depending if the third round would have been a Serrano and Taylor round. So I thought it was a draw. Some people would believe it, but it was different enough. But then after a loss against Chantel Cameron in 2023, and then she won in a rematch in November, took herself a year off just to fight in Arlington due to the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson buildup. And this was just the final match before that main event. Serrano injures her so much in the first round. And I really thought the second round was interesting enough close to be a Serrano round. I really thought it was a Serrano round. Just like round 3 would have been sort of a Taylor round as well. And then round 4, somewhat Taylor, which was another interesting round. And round 5 did have some interesting moments in the fight where I did had a lot of confusion of each round 1 because it was a tough fight. So it looked like Serrano might have had round 5 and Katie Taylor definitely had round 6 and round 7 was another interesting round. And then the last 3 rounds were controversial because we had a penalty point abduction by Katie Taylor for cheating, and which was, I had it 10-8 for Serrano. The announcer officials had it 9-9, but all judges had 10-8, which meant that Serrano could win this fight easily with one more round. And then we had round 9, which was probably another good round for Taylor. And at this moment, guys, after 9 rounds of competition, they had one judge named Nathan Palmer. Even if he gave the last round to Serrano, it didn't matter because Taylor won that round for judges, so it would have been 95-94. While the last 2 judges were even, 85-85. While the other was 86-84 for Nathan Palmer, favoring Katie Taylor after 9 rounds. So even if Serrano would have gotten him, Taylor would have won that round easily. The final round was even after 2 judges. You go to the final round, and Serrano put out the greatest performance in the 10th and final round and dominated. Nathan Palmer gave it 10-9 for Serrano. Jesse Reyes and Jeremy Hayes, that were evening it at 85-85, they gave the 10th and final round to Taylor, meaning after 3 scorecards were all 95-94, Taylor won. And it was controversy to see Clarissa Shields go on backstage and say, oh, Serrano didn't have good skills. She wasn't in head defense. She wasn't in defensive work. It was, at the end of the day, guys, guys, you can't say that to someone like that. Like, just because it is true that Serrano wasn't all in the Serrano, that she wasn't in the good head movement, defensive work, doesn't mean that she still won the 10th and final round cleanly. That's still controversial why the last 2 judges gave it favor to Taylor in the first place. So I do think that this might be just a waste of a trilogy here. If Taylor does win the fight against Serrano, will it affect Serrano's health for the rest of her life? At this moment, guys, I do want to see Serrano not win this fight, because if she wins, then it's going to be like, oh, they're going to do a best 3 out of 5. It's just a waste of time. At this moment, guys, I would say have Serrano fight in the welterweight division against Lauren Price or Michaela Mayer to be an 8-time weight class champion to tie with Manny Pacquiao, because that's what I want to see. I hope we get that sooner enough later, and we'll see what happens. I hope Amanda Serrano gets 3 more wins to make it to 50, because that would be awesome. So, yeah, my 10-round fight's going to be Katie Taylor. I don't want her to win, but I have a feeling she is going to win, and that's just upsets me. So we're just going to have to wait and see, guys, to see who wins, and it's going to be an interesting fight, and it's going to be interesting. As for William Zepeda and the Shakur Stevenson, I think Shakur's going to win that fight, so we'll see what happens in the future, and we'll see you guys next time in the next podcast, which will be on Saturday or Sunday, talking about this event. So that being said, see you next time.